Okay, calm down.
So excited to be bringing on Professor Mearsheimer, a political scientist and author, who is the co-author of the seminal book, The Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy. He's the author of several other books, including The Great Delusion, Liberal Dreams, and International Realities, and Why Leaders Lie, The Truth About Lying in International Politics. So, and he's also Wendell Harrison Distinguished Service Professor in the Political Science Department at the University of Chicago. So, welcome, Professor Mearsheimer.
Thank you, Katie. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. We're so glad you're here. Wanted to start off by showing you a clip of Secretary of State Antony Blinken being asked by Andrea Mitchell about the ceasefire deal.
You say that everyone but Hamas has agreed to this. Benjamin Netanyahu has certainly said otherwise publicly, and the hostage families are saying you should try everything if this fails. And it's quite possible it will fail, with him now toughening his position, more likely, with his right-wing partners. If this fails, they want you to work through Qatar and deal with Hamas to get the Americans home. And we are reporting at NBC News that that is being discussed as a backup plan, if no other way to get a ceasefire, doing it without Israel agreeing to a ceasefire. Can you tell us about that? And also, if the war continues, won't the Palestinian death toll be unacceptable, as the National Security Advisor in Israel has said, till the end of the year, after such a horrific death toll in getting the hostages out militarily this weekend?
First, let me be very clear. Israel has accepted the proposal. In fact, they were critical in putting it forward. So the only party, no, that is what the official position of the Israeli government and the Prime Minister. So the only party that has not accepted, the only party that's not said yes, is Hamas. That's who everyone's waiting on. That's who the Palestinians in Gaza are waiting on. It's who the Israelis are waiting on. It's who the hostages and the hostage families are waiting on. It's who the entire region and the entire world is waiting on. And so we'll see. Does Hamas want to end this conflict, end this war that it started, or not? We'll find out. But it's clear that virtually the entire world has come together in support of the proposal. And the only open question is, will Hamas say yes?
A lot to unpack there, but can you shed some light and insight into the deal, which Israel is claiming it's not accepting, and the U.S. is claiming Israel is accepting?
Yeah, I mean, trying to figure out what is going on here is almost impossible. Just before I describe the deal, he says that Israel has accepted the deal. And as you know, the administration has a tendency to talk about the deal as if it was Israel's deal. In other words, they proposed it, Israel. We accepted it. We put it before the UN Security Council, and now we have a UN Security Council resolution backing Israel's deal. So what we have to do now is just get Hamas to agree. That's the story that Biden and the administration tend to tell. But if you look at what's happened, what both sides, and here we're talking about Hamas and Israel, were required to do was respond with a formal report or formal letter to the UN Security Council resolution/plan. Hamas has responded with a formal letter. Israel has not responded. Now, the Israeli press today is reporting that even though Hamas responded, if you look carefully at their response, this is according to the Israelis, Hamas really doesn't accept the deal. They want to change X, Y, and Z. Okay, but they've at least responded with a formal letter. Israel has not responded. And when you listen to what the Israelis are saying about the deal, they're all over the map. It all depends who you're talking to and what day you're talking to that person. So I don't know how Blinken can say that the only remaining party to declare its agreement to the deal is Hamas, because Hamas, I'm not saying they've agreed because I haven't seen their letter, but they at least submitted a formal letter. The Israelis haven't even done that. And there's no evidence that the Israelis agree to this deal the way Blinken describes it. So it's hard to know for sure what's going on here, but it does not sound like Blinken is telling a true story.
Right. And it's worth noting also, this is Andrea Mitchell questioning him. She's not someone who's extremely critical of the Biden administration or of Israel. Um,
Yeah.
so they're kind of losing their usual allies.
Yeah. Let me give you my take, if you don't mind,
Yeah, of
on
course.
why I think it's hard to see how you get a ceasefire. I mean, I do hope you get a ceasefire and I hope it becomes permanent for sure. But the problem is that what Hamas wants, for understandable reasons, is they want a permanent ceasefire. Uh, but Israel doesn't want a permanent ceasefire. They want a temporary ceasefire, and then they want to go back on the offensive because the Israeli view is they have to finish the job. Remember, Netanyahu is firmly committed to decisively defeating Hamas. And if you get a temporary or ceasefire now, he's not going to have decisively defeated Hamas. So he wants to be able to go back on the offensive. And of course, Hamas wants to end this once and for all. So that's one major point of disagreement. The second thing is Hamas wants Israel to withdraw all its forces from Gaza. They want every IDF soldier out, period. And you can understand why Hamas wants that. But the Israelis, of course, don't want to do that because they haven't finished off Hamas and they understand full well there are going to be problems inside of Gaza in the foreseeable future. So they want to remain. I think they're probably, as best I can tell from news reports, willing, this is the Israelis, willing to pull out of the populous areas, willing to pull out of the cities and the large towns, but they want to remain in Gaza. And of course, unsurprisingly, Hamas doesn't want them to remain in Gaza. Now, the question I would ask you is, how do you square those circles? I just don't see how you do it. The Americans probably think they can finesse it, but when you're dealing with Hamas and you're dealing with the Israelis, it's very hard to finesse anything because these are, two ruthless actors who are at each other's throats and they're looking for opportunities to inflict massive pain on each other. So how you square those two circles, I don't know.
Because we were blessed with so much time with Professor Mearsheimer, some of this will be Patreon only. So to see the full stream with Professor Mearsheimer, please become Patreon supporters at patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. Again, that's patreon.com/the Katie Halper Show. So you can hear his thoughts on Russia, Ukraine, and World War.